Hi, my name is Anna Ferster, and this is Astrology with Anna. For this episode, I want to start out by talking about my site recommendations. Where to start generating a birth chart and where to start learning about it. There are two ways to get a birth chart. You can either learn to draw one yourself or get a website to draw it for you. I assume the majority of you listening don't know how to physically draw a birth chart or are potentially intimidated by doing it. I don't even know how to physically draw a birth chart myself, although I would like to learn one day. When I generate my own birth chart or someone else's, I mainly use astro.com or AstroDeans. That's the same website, just two different names. I know I'm not alone in thinking that is the best site or the preferred site to start generating a birth chart. Over the past 6 years of learning and practicing astrology, all of the astrologers that I've learned from use AstroDeans in some capacity. You can create a plethora of different chart types, and like I said in the last episode, save up to 100 charts for free on your account. There's other easy-to-use sites that include astrocharts.com, Cafe Astrology, and AstroSeek. All of them allow you to make birth charts completely free, and some even give you a small amount of free information about your chart. If you're looking to draw your birth chart by hand, you can easily find videos online or books giving you step-by-step instructions. One day, I'm gonna film an episode where I specifically teach you how to draw a birth chart, but not right now. Sadly, I don't know how yet. But one episode in the future. Easy to use and informative chart generating sites include, starting with astro.com again, it's literally just the goat of astrology websites. You can generate a plethora of chart types, learn about your planets or aspects, get a horoscope, and you can even make an account, like I said, and store up to 100 charts. If you're first logging on, just go to the top right-hand corner where it says My Astro, click a user profile, and make your chart. You can choose to make an account or just use guest user, whatever you choose, but you still get to use all the resources, which is really cool. Like I said, this is my go-to site. I have over 50 charts actively stored in mine. You can make charts super easy, and you can even look at synastry, composite, relational astrology charts, and sidereal charts with just a few clicks. In my opinion, it's just the most efficient site when practicing astrology. And that was astro.com or AstroDeans. Next is astrocharts.com. It's my second most used astrology site. I use it nowadays when I need to make a birth chart, composite, or synastry chart for a person or persons. Astro Charts also gives you a circle chart and a list view of your planets and aspects. Astro.com does not directly give you lists of your stuff, and because of that, I just use Astro Charts frequently as well. There's also a small section at the end of every birth chart that gives you some free tidbits of info about your chart, which I think is really helpful, especially helpful for beginners. Cafe Astrology, if you don't know it by name, it's probably how you got introduced to astrology, if not already by CoStar or Snapchat. It's where I first generated my birth chart, and even though it doesn't include the actual chart, it's probably better for it. Cafe Astrology, although not as accurate or as efficient as astro.com, is absolutely great for beginners. And I mean accurate in a sense, like a mathematical sense. Sometimes the signs are just a little bit off in terms of exact degrees, but it's not off in more important ways. Although still somewhat intimidating with Cafe Astrology, everything is written out and very clear. You know what signs each of your planets are in, and you know what houses your planets are in too. And at the very bottom of your list view, you get helpful explanations of all of your planets and other blurbs of information as well. Cafe Astrology acts kind of like an effective kindergarten teacher. They're giving you the right structure to begin learning and pushing you enough to keep you interested and active in participation, but they aren't pushing you so hard that you get scared by the increasing amount of learning material. With Cafe Astrology, you're told what your chart has and given enough information to become even more curious. Astrotheme.com is the best when you're doing astrology research, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. If you're not a beginner and you're looking at charts and comparing your findings, Astrotheme has the largest catalog of celebrity birth charts. When I want to compare or contrast different charts, or even look at celebrity composite or synastry from time to time, I just use Astrotheme. The funny part about Astrotheme is that they have all of these birth times, And I always wondered to myself, how do they get them? Are they like the CIA? I don't know. I just think it's funny that they have a bunch of people's birth times. You can also generate birth charts on their site if you like their chart format. And like Astro.com, they give you a lot of information about the planets and houses in your chart for free. AstroSeek is another great free chart generator. I mainly use it myself when I'm curious about sidereal astrology. It gives the chart in both a circle and a list format, and it even includes the Vedic terminology. Sidereal is also called Vedic astrology because sidereal astrology is what is used in the East. If you're interested in Vedic/sidereal astrology, AstroSeek is definitely a great site to look into. What I wanted to do next is I want to look at a birth chart to go over with you guys in order to give you some perspective of when you're looking at your own birth chart. And I'm specifically talking about the circle chart, but you can also look at the list view. And I'm going to give you my first impressions and how I look at it to give you a perspective of how you can also look at it. So the chart I chose was just today when I'm filming this. I didn't want to do like any persons, although I could, but I just wanted to do something very random and connected with today. I didn't want to go off on any celebrity or friend. I just kind of wanted to go on something completely new, something I haven't seen. Which today, Thursday, November 30th, 2023, and I was specifically filming this at 11:25 p.m. This chart is a Sagittarius sun with a Virgo ascendant and a Cancer moon. So the first thing I look at in any chart, usually, is where those three things are. So again, the ascendant is always in the same place, but it's at 6 degrees Virgo. And when the chart is at 6 degrees Virgo, that sets the tone for the whole chart. So that means it has a Libra second house, most likely. And for this chart, it doesn't have a... Well, yeah, it does. It's at 0 degrees. It has a Scorpio third house. It has a Sagittarius fourth house, and so on and so on. So that's the first thing I look at, because I want to look at the tone of the chart. I want to know the presence of how the chart really exists. Like right now, we're in a Virgo ascendant. The sun is ascending on Virgo, over Virgo. So there's a lot of mercurial energy happening in the air right now, because Virgo, and I'll talk about rulerships in a few episodes, I believe. I think I'll talk about rulerships. If I haven't already talked about rulerships, I'm just remembering back. But if not, I'll talk about rulerships in a few episodes. Virgo, alongside Gemini, are both ruled by Mercury. And so this is a mercurial chart. But I don't want to go into chart rulers too quickly because I feel like it will be better when I am able to fully explain what a chart ruler is and chart rulers in general. So I'm going to go to the sun. And where's the sun? The sun is in Sagittarius at 8 degrees in the 4th house. Where's the moon? The moon is in the 11th house in Cancer at 24 degrees. So just right off the bat, when I look at the 4th house, right? When I'm looking where the sun is, this is a very adventurous person who is very connected to home, which is a very... Or this isn't a person, this is just the day. But if you could look at the today, or at least this moment in time, and say, for instance, if this was a person, I would say that they're naturally outgoing. They are adventurous at home with their family. They feel like they learn a lot when they're with their family. They also feel... I know it's not... A sun sign usually isn't a feeling. When I say feel, I mean... This is how they think of themselves. That's probably better to say, but I just use feel. But this person, if this was a person, in my mind, would most likely use the past as a way to learn in the present. Because the 4th house is about the past. And in a few episodes, I'll also talk about the house, what the houses mean. But one of the meanings of the 4th house, alongside family, is the past. They also have their Mars in the 4th house. And they have it at a close degree too. So I'd say they have a lot of sustaining energy in the way they see themselves. So they're able to, they most likely, when you have a sun conjunct Mars, in a relatively, I would consider it, this pretty positive. but although in the fourth house, it can be a little troublesome from time to time. When you see a Mars in the fourth house, it could mean disruptions with the family, consistent conflict, stuff like that. But for this, I would say there's a lot of drive here, especially with this person. Although there might be conflict available, there's a lot of drive with this person. Drive to think about the past a lot, drive to learn from family members. This person probably likes to read. I mean, I know a lot of Sagittarius who like to read, so I don't think that's necessarily specific to the fourth house, but let's look at the moon. I'm going to look at the moon real quick. The moon, which is in, like I said, in Cancer in the 11th house at 24 degrees, is interesting. They have a Cancer moon. So I would say they have a much easier ability to express emotions. But I'll also say that their moon is opposite Pluto. I was about to say Saturn. Pluto. Which moon and Pluto placements are very intense. That's just off the bat. But to go back, if you notice what I'm doing is I'm specifically looking at the planet, what sign that planet is in, understanding my knowledge about what it's like to be a Sagittarius sun. What is it like to be a sun in Sagittarius, right? I'm applying that knowledge to that. And then I'm using that knowledge of having a Sagittarius sun and then taking it a bit further by looking at it, a Sagittarius sun in the fourth house. You have a Sagittarius sun. Now, what is it like to have a Sagittarius sun in the fourth house? So I'm peeling back the astrology onion. And then on top of that, again, this is a little bit further, something I'll teach down the road more in depth. But once I look at the sign that the sun is in, once I look at what house the sun is in, I then look what degree is the sun in. There's a minor and the major degree, but I mainly just look at the major degree. And for this Sagittarius sun, their degree is in the 8th degree, which is a Scorpio degree. Every degree has a certain, I don't think I said this, and I'll say this even further in a few episodes, but every house has a planet that it works with. And so, say for instance, the fourth house works with the moon in similar energy Cancer. So there's a lot of Cancerian energy and moon energy in the fourth house. And so every degree also has a sign/planet that it works with. So the 8th degree is a Scorpio degree. And Scorpio is naturally ruled by Mars, or in some respects Pluto too. So when you look at your chart, look for the sun symbol, see what sign it's in, and then look for what house it's in. Take note of that. And then if you want to go further, look what degree it's in. And you can apply the same knowledge for all of the rest of the planets, all of the rest of the asteroids, all of the rest of the mathematical points that are important in astrology. And that's really the first part in looking at any chart. It's taking the time it's taking the time to know what the symbols are, so you have an easier time of understanding things. And then it's usually best starting with your sun and looking where it is. And after I look at degree, or even before I look at degree, you look at the aspects. For this chart, you'll see lines appearing all over the circle chart. You'll see a red line or a dotted line, or kind of like a striped line and a blue line. You'll see all these different kinds of lines converging all together. And when I look at the sun, I see it has two aspects, two specifically major aspects. There's major aspects and there's minor aspects. I won't be talking about the minor aspects for some time. I'll mainly be talking about the major aspects for now, although both are important in their own ways. More so major, but minor aspects too. The Sagittarius Sun is also conjunct the Sagittarius Mars in this chart. They're at very close degrees. They're 4 degrees apart. In astrology, most astrologers count things 8 degrees or less. Not usually much more than that, but some astrologers count even less than 8 degrees in terms of aspects. But like I said, the Sagittarius Sun in this chart is conjunct the Sagittarius Mars. They're both in the same side. They're both in the same sign, and they're very close together. And then the other aspect for the Sagittarius Sun is also square the Pisces Saturn in this chart. And the Pisces Saturn is at 1 degree. And so Astro.com is measuring 8 degrees or less when talking about aspects on their site. And the Sagittarius Sun and the Saturn in Pisces are 7 degrees apart in degree, but they are still considered square. Aspects, they're tough. It takes a bit of time to learn them because you're kind of just getting your brain used to looking at it in chart. And that's why I do recommend looking at it in a list view because it makes it so much easier to look at it. But it will take some time to slowly start understanding what lines are what do they mean, specifically when looking at it. Specifically when looking at the chart itself, looking at the lines. So yeah, this wasn't super in-depth because I'm going to be doing a more in-depth chart analysis next episode, which is really cool. But I did want to give you a sense of how to look at a chart starting out. What mindset to put yourself in so you can intimidate yourself a little bit less than say you would just by looking at it. Starting next week, I will start posting 2 episodes a week. A mini episode every Tuesday where I answer a few brief questions from listeners about astrology and a regular full episode on Fridays. For Friday's episode, I will be sitting down with a friend to read and answer questions about their birth chart. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you alongside the stars in the next episode.